In this training video, we are going to discuss how to create a new case in JustWare. There are a couple ways of creating a new case. When you launch JustWare, you have your start screen, and if you notice under Actions, you have the new case option here, right from your start screen. This action bar will always change depending on what screen you're looking at. So if I'm looking at the search screen, notice my action bar has changed. I have different options here. If I'm looking at a name record, my action bar has also changed to give us different options. If I click on New Case here, it'll allow me to create a new case, but I do have a couple extra steps because I am not looking at a name record. The benefit of clicking on New Case while you're looking at a name record means that the system thinks that you are creating a case for Mr. Gumby. So if I click on New Case, it's going to ask what type of case this is. This code table is defined by the administrator in code tables. So I'm going to say this is a felony case and hit OK. It's going to start a new case. We know it's a new case because across the top it says New Tabbed Details. It doesn't give us a case title. We haven't created it or saved anything yet. And remember, anything with asterisks are required. A lot of these asterisks are automatically filled in. I need to give this a status. I'm going to say the current status is open. Come to my agencies and involved parties. Notice it automatically populated a few things for me. That is defined by system administration. We don't currently have this training instance to automatically be set up to involve the person that you clicked on New Case from. So we do need to add Mr. Gumby to this case. So down here below, I want to add him as a defendant. So we just hit the plus, select defendant, and then we can do a search here for Mr. Gumby. We have found Mr. Gumby here, so I'm going to click on Mr. Gumby. If the name doesn't exist, remember you do have the option to create a new name record. So if Mr. Gumby didn't exist, we can go through the previous training that we did about creating name records and create a name record on the fly. So I'm going to select Mr. Gumby, and he is our defendant. This is where we add different agencies that are involved on the case and different people that are involved on the case. Good example would be police officers. If someone's arrested, typically you'll put the police department as an agency involved and a person from the police department. So we can say there is a police officer involved. Jeremy Gledhill is the police officer. And all these drop downs are configured in code tables. So that'll be in admin training. You can also add charges, and you can give specific detail to your charges. So let's say I do a search here for H's. I have a couple of different things that have H's in them. Sassing a law officer is the severity of high. That's where the H probably came from there. So I'm going to use that statute. Then I can relate different things to the statute, such as different agencies. So we could say this is actually linked to the police department, etc. And this is every agency or a customer we deal with typically track all these things a little bit differently, but you can get in here and play around with saying, you know, this charge, sassing an officer, had to do with alcohol at a level of 0.05% or whatever. What day it occurred, if there's any notes, said, mean things, whatever, here. So there's a bunch of options for tracking your charges. The location of the charge, involvements. If you notice here, there is currently no one involved as a charge involvement. You can add it manually, but if I hit save at this point, since we haven't saved the case, it'll know that I only have one defendant on this case, which means that defendant has to be involved on this charge. So it automatically involved that charge for me. Just one way of saving time in JustWare. In our other tab across the top, we have a couple options here. We have notes. Just like in name records, we have case notes as well. This is a note for everything on the case. A lot of times attorneys will come in here and type in had a pre-trial conference, etc. And they can mark this as this is an eyewitness note, or this is a whatever note that they're keeping track of on the case. So this is for the entire case. If they have specific notes for charges or anything else, they can put those in line. Attributes, where you can say another way of putting kind of a flag on the case saying there's a specific thing that we want to track as a statistic. So we can say this is a public intoxication case, just as a flag. So if we're doing statistics, we can say find all cases that have attributes of public intoxication. Related cases allows you to relate this to other cases. The most common use of this is co-defendants. So if you and your 3 friends go out and commit a crime, typically each of you will have your own case in the system, but you can relate those cases together. So you know that my case is related to those other 3 people's cases because it was all the same crime, but we're all being prosecuted separately. So we all need to be found guilty of the crime. So, let's say 2 of our buddies are found not guilty because they didn't participate in whatever it was that we were doing. That's a good example of related cases, so we can hit the plus here, do a search for a related case, so we can say Bart Simpson's case of theft, and what type of relationship is it? It is a co-defendant case relationship, so we know that this case is a co-defendant case to my current case. Physical location has to do with the physical location of this case file. So a lot of places are not paperless, which means they have a physical file that holds documents and things in it that they track in their office. This allows you to track where physically that file is. Is it on Jeremy's desk? Is it filed away? Did we put it in storage? Which bin is it in storage? Is it in bin 5 in storage, etc.? This is a way of tracking where your case files are. Events allows you to track events in JustWare. When was the arraignment? Where is the arraignment? What time? Where, etc. And who was involved on the arraignment. So we can say, Gumby obviously is involved. He's our defendant. And the police officer, he's going to be there at the arraignment, etc. So who needs to be involved on that event? Correspondence has to do with tracking different case correspondence. So are we making a phone call? Are we sending an email? There's a bunch of different ways that you can track your correspondence if you are tracking it this way. I sent an email to so-and-so, or I can put a note here saying that there was a call. Gumby called Gimby. Gumby called, etc. So we can talk about, why he called or whatever, and we can involve him on this correspondence saying Gumby's the one that called and who's the one that answered or whatever. A bunch of different ways of tracking there. We have tasks under events, which allows us to track, to assign tasks. So let's say there's a task on this case. We need to get the discovery files, or we need to get the evidence for this case. We want to create a task for the attorney, or we want to create a task for someone in specific. So I want you to call. It's already called call. We'll say call Gumby for appointment, etc. And who's the task involved person? So we can say this person's not even involved on this case. So it's not one of these 2 people. It's actually we want Ben Stocks to make the call. I can do a search, add Ben Stocks as an involved person on this task. Even though he's not involved on this case, you can involve anyone that you want on anything. So Ben is involved on this task, and it'll show up in his start screen under My Tasks. Case status history shows a running status history, obviously, on your case. So if I change this to be closed, and I hit save, it is going to show that the case was opened on this day, and it was closed on this day. This allows us to take statistics on how long cases have been open, and all of that. Our filing cabinet allows us to not only save files from our case, or from our system on a case, it allows us to generate documents as well. These documents are templates that pull information from the case. So if you notice, you have a couple options here across the top. Let's say I want to create a new folder. This is going to be my my subpoena folder. Jeez, I used to know how to spell subpoena. We'll just call them subs because I can't spell. In my subpoena folder, I want to generate a subpoena. Hit add. So now it's got my subpoena in here. Notice it's got a little hourglass, meaning the subpoena hasn't been generated because we haven't hit save yet. I'm going to hit save, and that'll actually generate my subpoena. I brought up this upload manager saying that that document was uploaded to my filing cabinet, and we have a subpoena that was generated. So if I open up this subpoena, I think it might be opening right now, or maybe not. Nope, it didn't open automatically. This one just says this is a subpoena, but it could pull in any information from the case. So it could pull the name, address, specific subpoena language, so that the user doesn't have to do that all on their own. It fills it all in there for them. You have the ability to email documents, move documents, etc. from the filing cabinet. So right-click on there, play around with the different options of how they can be viewed. We have previews in here as well. We kind of have a different way of doing a tree view if you like tree views, etc. So play with those buttons in the filing cabinet. Filing cabinet is something that is very heavily used by users. Judgment, sentence, and financials. We can say we had a judgment, so they pled not guilty, but they were found guilty on the same day or whatever. What was their sentence? Their sentence was a fine of amount. I think that there's actually an amount filled in here. Currency. So again, customers, they typically have this all configured. Fine of $50 is their sentence, or they have, also life in prison from whatever, 50 to life. Credit suspension typically has to do with, let's say that they were sitting in prison for a week before they had their trial, and they were sentenced to prison for a month. You could give them a credit of a week. So you're sentenced to prison for a month, but you were already in prison for a week waiting for your trial, which means you only have to be there for 3 more weeks instead of 4 weeks. So you could give an amount of a credit. Conditions. So we could say we have a condition of, and I don't have any in my drop down here, or a condition of volunteer work, so community service, or probation would be a condition, so you are on probation. Financials is money that you have to pay to us. So this would be, we are the ones collecting this money. So you may be sentenced $50, but you're not paying this money to us, so you wouldn't put that $50 here in financials. But if you are paying that to us, we can say there is a fine of $50 here. And you may not do this in both places. You may do this just in one place. Put a due date. These are the things that are required. You link a fine to a charge and when it's due. Now he owes $50. And there's a whole lot to do with financials in JustWare. Joint and several goes back to the situation we discussed about having co-defendants. So you and your buddies go out and you vandalize someone's property and you have $1,000 in damage. Let's say 3 of you are found guilty and the 3 of you need to pay $1,000 together. What this will allow you to do is say that you guys have to pay $1,000, and who is it paid by? We'll notice that you have the option for Bart and Gumby because I related Bart's case to this case as a co-defendant case. So Bart and Gumby both have to pay this $1,000 together. And that allows, basically what you're saying is, Bart and Gumby, you guys have to figure this out on your own. This isn't something that we're going to say, Bart, you pay $50 and Gumby, you pay $950. You guys figure that out, and we expect $1,000 to be paid by, next month or whatever. Adjusting entries allow you to adjust. I'm going to hit save on that. Allow you to adjust your financial records here. So let's say you accidentally put $50 here and it was supposed to be joint and several. Most agencies don't allow you to delete financials because you want breadcrumbs for everything you've done with financials. So an adjusting entry allows you to adjust any of your obligations. So you can say, I want to adjust this $50 fine by negative $50. If I hit save on that, now I've done an adjusting entry, so I have a record of the adjustment, and it adjusted my fine for me, saying you did an adjusting entry of $50. Non-collectible financials are just what they sound, money that you are not collecting, but money that you want to track. So again, if you are not the one collecting the fine, but you want to track the fines, you can say $50 was how much they're supposed to pay. They're not paying it to us, so that's why they're non-collectible. Bond management is for tracking bonds. So this is if they're put in prison on a $1,000 bond or however big the bond is. This is where you can create specific bonds. So you can say Gumby has a bond, it's a cash only bond, is it pending or whatever the status is. This allows you to track bonds on cases. A lot of this has to do with if your agency is or is not actually tracking money. And so you've seen probably in this demonstration that there's 100 different ways of doing different things, and all of our customers are doing things differently. So just become familiar with what each tab can do and where it all is referenced. The final tab here is the case summary report. Just like with the name summary, you have the option here to print off this report. It's a whole summary of everything on this case. So it shows all of our documents, events, correspondence, etc. So it's a whole summary with everything to do on your case. And that is how you create a case in JustWare. I went over it as quickly as I could because really a lot of this has to do with you getting in here, clicking on things, playing with things, figuring out how they relate together. And so what I'd recommend is, just create a new case and go through each of these tabs, add new agencies, see how these drop downs all relate together. So I want to add a prosecutor here, so now this populates with the new one from up above. What are my options for prosecutors? I have attorneys for my prosecutors, not police officers, etc. It's all kind of based on what I'm doing. I have a drop down here of who my current prosecutors are. If my prosecutor isn't showing on this list, or if it's someone else, I can still do a search here. So let's say I'm going to do Mr. Prosecutor. Mr. Prosecutor doesn't exist. Now I'm going to create a name record for him on the fly. So just like what we did in the previous demonstration. His name is Mr. Prosecutor. We can put all of his information in here, contact information, phone number, etc. If you hit Control S, it saves, or if you notice under Actions, you have the Involve Name option here, which now is saving the name record. So now Mr. Prosecutor exists in our system, and he is involved as a prosecuting attorney. So just go through each of these and play with all the different options. We have a bunch of columns. Most of our customers only use a small amount of all of the columns that are available. So we can, say this is the day he was arrested, etc. So that concludes our quick training on how to create cases in JustWare.